Connie Willis, the podcast. Taking you into new ways of thinking, even providing answers to questions you've often pondered. Connie Willis, the podcast.
Oh, I'm doing fine. Doing real good.
Hey, here.
How are you?
From the beginning here, I'm going to start from the top, and we'll be.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in. And are you on a cell or are you on a landline?
I'm on a cell.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay. Are you in a car?
Yeah. I'm just rolling the windows down, actually.
Oh, okay. Are you going to be driving?
No, I'm sitting in a parking lot right now.
Okay, I think Steve Bassett was driving when we were talking to him, by the way.
Oh, really?
You know Steve. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Hey there, we are back on High Strangeness. I'm Connie Willis. We are going to be talking to John Smith next, and we'd like to ask you guys and encourage you to call in at 1-800-STRANGE to ask some questions a little bit later on. First off, we want you to hear the story and also check out our website because there's going to be more additional information about the story with John Smith we're about to talk to. 1-800-STRANGE is the number, 1-800-STRANGE, and also highstrangeness.com is the website that we're talking about. Okay, well, John Smith, our next guest here, he's on the phone with me right now. He has a lot of scientific qualifications. He's a chemist, material scientist. That's 20 years industrial experience and has a degree in chemistry from UCLA. Okay, so this is not some guy off the street that we pulled in to talk. I want you to know the credentials of him. He is currently working, get this, in the carbon nanotube field and has several patents granted and pending. Way to go. I'm hoping he makes a lot of money off of those. And also, he's in Who's Who in Science and Engineering and also Who's Who in America. He's got some fantastic credentials, and we're going to be talking to him now. John Smith, how are you?
I'm doing real good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. The reason that John is here is because he is, I think, as you said, an experiencer, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And what can you tell our listening audience, what is an experiencer as opposed to an abductee and contactee? And
Well, the terms experiencer and abductee and contactee are often used interchangeably, but experiencer is more of a modern catch-all term for it all. But I would consider an abductee somebody that is involved in the alien program against their will. And a contactee or experiencer would be somebody that is more cooperative and more open to the experience.
And did I miss one there? Contactee, did you say them all? I guess you did say them all. I'm sorry. I missed that. I was pulling up your other credential there. Okay, I'm sorry. And you are an experiencer.
Yeah, that's a pretty good term for it, experiencer, contactee.
And so you're not going against your will, is what you're saying. You're okay with this.
No, I'm pretty cooperative. I'm not okay with it all the way, and that it's really turned my life upside down in a lot of ways. But as far as not wanting to do their program, that's not the case. I definitely am cooperative when I'm with them. The part of it that really is unnerving is the fact that they won't let you remember the experiences, and it's like being trapped between two worlds. It really is disruptive to your life down here.
Well, I want everybody to know that, of course, his real name is not John Smith, and he wants to tell the story, but also keep private. And we want you guys out there to know that with High Strangeness, that's what we want you to do. If you want to be private, that's fine. Please tell us your story, so we can let others know what is going on, as well as maybe it relates to you. So that's why we're giving John Smith his privacy, so that he will tell us his story, because he also wants to get it out. And I know that this causes problems for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really want to keep my real name private for now, because I'm afraid of impact on my career and embarrassment to my family. I don't know if that would happen or not, but I feel like I can't take the risk at this point.
It's probably hard enough just to even talk to your family about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very hard finding out for sure that that this was going on. We had a tremendous amount of activity back in late 2007, and that culminated in my being given an additional implant in the toe, and that pretty much convinced me that this was real. There was no doubt about it at that point. I went to see Dr. Roger Lear, and he works not too far from where I do, interestingly enough. And we had the object X-rayed, and it was a toe X-rayed, and when they handed me that film, I knew that I was going to see something, but when I did, it changed my life forever. I mean, I knew that object could not possibly have gotten in there in any other, any normal manner, and I knew that the aliens had been there the night that it happened, and sure enough, there was an object in there. It looked like a bent piece of wire on the X-ray. It's a metallic object of some kind.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. Okay, when did the abduction start, and how long has it been going on? How frequent is it?
Well, I have reason to believe that it's been going on since birth or before birth. I think my mom was involved, and I know that my own children are involved. At least two of them are, and my wife and I were actually abducted when she was pregnant with my first son. So I certainly have reason to believe that these abductions are lifelong, and probably start during just after conception.
When did you actually start questioning what was happening and find out? What happened that you got to that point?
Well, I've always been extremely interested in UFOs and aliens, and I wasn't sure where that came from, anything to do with space or anything like that. And I've just had strange things that I thought were just dreams, fantasies before of seeing aliens or having aliens tell me things. And I have a memory of having fog in the middle of my room when I was 5 years old, and I was always terrified of my closet. And it turns out that's often where these beings appear, is either through windows or in closets. They have the technology to move through solid objects.
How is that? Because I know with your background, you might have an answer for that. How can they do that?
Well, we've seen that in certain experiments right here on Earth. Like John Hutchinson has done experiments where two objects have fused into each other. He's done some anti-gravity effects in some of his experiments, and objects have levitated, and then when they've collided, have fused into each other on occasion. He can't really reproduce the effect, but it's happened before. He's got lots of documentation on that, and I think that what's happening is that certain electromagnetic fields will allow the molecules of a substance to move off the hyperplane that we're inhabiting and slightly into a higher dimension, and that renders the material somewhat porous. Isn't exactly the right word, but it's softer, and it moves the atoms aside in another dimension just slightly to enable other objects to pass through.
And you, as a scientist, you see that this is real, right? I mean, I'm just, I have no clue what you're talking about. It's all over my head. But as you, as a scientist, you're like, hey, this is possible, correct?
Well, it must be possible because I've seen pictures of objects fused into each other in Hutchinson's experiments, and we certainly have seen evidence that the aliens are passing through walls, both from experiencer testimony and also from the fact that there are tremendous magnetic fields and UV fluorescent stains and other evidence on objects and walls that they've passed through or allegedly passed through.
Okay. When you were talking about Dr. Lear being, you said interestingly enough, he's was close by to you, the guy that, does the surgery with the implants and took one out of you. It seems, though, that there's a lot of interesting things with your case. I mean, you are studying nanotechnology, and that's what this seems like it is. I mean, there's a lot, and you're, a scientist, all this stuff. Do you think that is, there's reasons for all these interesting little coincidences?
I'm sure there are. I think the aliens want a certain amount of publicity at this point. They were very secretive and are more into secrecy than our own government is. But now, excuse me, they seem to want a certain amount of publicity, and they seem to want to make their presence known a lot more.
You think?
And these, like you say, these implants are nanotechnological devices, and I think that this whole incident was planned this way. They knew that I'd start an investigation and get the object removed and study it, and that would enable them to have the publicity that they wanted. It was very interesting also that the object that was taken out of my toe contains carbon nanotubes, and that's exactly what I'm working on.
That's, yeah, exactly. Did you get to see the implant yourself?
Yeah, I didn't get to see it intact. It came out in pieces. They went in through the side of the toe and tried to pull it out, and it was brittle, and it fragmented into about 12 pieces when they were taking it out. But it turns out that was probably a good thing because it gave us access to the interior of the device, whereas the other devices that were removed from people by Dr. Lear were intact, and we just got analysis of the surfaces of the devices.
Where is the implant now?
I'm not at liberty to say on that one. That would not be a good thing to answer.
Okay, but is and that's fine. That's totally fine. Is it still being looked at, and is it also, since that's what you're studying, will you get to look at it?
We've done a lot of analysis on it. It's possible we may go back in the future to do some more analysis on it. That's definitely a possibility. We're trying to go back and do analysis on some of Dr. Lear's older samples because the analyses that were done on them did not incorporate some of the analyses we know to do today. So.
Yeah, and I just want to explain to the listeners out there in the High Strangeness audience that probably, I don't know, please correct me, but probably one of the reasons you said, hey, I don't want to tell where that is I know that I have talked to people before that have had these implants, and then all of a sudden they're gone. They can't find them.
Yeah, well, government agents will come and steal them, or give you a hard time, or whatever the case might be. I mean, I've been doing this a while now, and I haven't been hassled yet, but I don't want to, push my luck.
Exactly right. So, how many years do you believe this has been occurring to you? How old are you? I'm sorry, since it happened.
I'm old now actually, and it's still occurring. It occurs about I get taken about every couple of weeks, as near as I can figure.
How did you see that your kids were being taken? How did you know that?
Well, UV fluorescent stains have appeared these only appear under UV light. Have appeared on their walls that definitely weren't there when we moved into the house, and I've seen these sorts of stains at my own house, in addition to like 5 other experiencers' houses. And
what are these stains?
Well, there's 3 types. There's a blue or a yellow-green fluorescent stain, a blue fluorescent stain, and an orange fluorescent stain. And they all seem to be associated with the abductions. I have reason to believe that the yellow-green substance comes from their skin. Their skin's kind of damp, and I actually saw handprints in this substance, 4-fingered handprints on my wall.
Wow.
Dr. Lear and a couple of MUFON people came over to my house shortly before the implant was removed, and we found that. We went over my bedroom with a UV light.
Oh, okay.
And,
okay.
I've seen the orange fluorescent stain on my wall, and then on my children's skin, and on other people's skin, and same with the blue stuff.
Do you
blue stuff?
Go ahead.
The blue stuff I've actually seen on people's carpetings too. Big drops of it, like it's a marker dye of some kind.
Really? What do you have a picture by chance of? I'm sure you took a picture of the handprint and the other things.
Oh yeah, I've actually. I definitely have a picture of that, and I can email it to you if you like.
Excellent. Is it posted anywhere for the audience?
Is it posted anywhere?
Well, you can email it to me.
No, I don't believe it is, but I'll email it to you.
Email it to me, and with your permission, we'll also put it on the website too. Okay, excellent. That will be fantastic to see. So, It's just interesting hearing stories about this from other people, but when it's the actual experiencer themselves, and especially with your background, you can talk so much better about it. So I know before that we had talked, and you had mentioned that there's 3 different types of abductions, correct?
Yeah, and, from my studies of the subject, I have come to the conclusion that there are most likely 3 basic types of abductees or experiencers. I call them Class 0, Class 1, and Class 2. Class 0 abductees are just taken and never heard from again. I suspect the aliens break them up for organs or medical samples. And Class 1 abductees are taken repeatedly, and medical samples are taken, and they're subjected to various psychological and physical tests. And in the case of female abductees, they implant them with hybrid fetuses, and then take the fetuses before the pregnancy comes to term. Then Class 2 abductees are people that they actually use to help with their agenda. Like these guys are like a high-tech foreign military. It's like force multiplication in military terms, where they take locals that they know that are intelligent enough to help them, and that they believe are reliable, and use them to help with their agenda.
And which one are you?
Class 2.
And what happens when you are taken? Can you describe one event?
I only remember bits and pieces consciously. I've been regressed a few times, and I have memories of them. The last regression that was done on me, I recovered memories of being taken. They come about 3 o'clock in the morning generally, and they took me out of my bed and gave me an injection of something in my wrist, and I've got a picture of my wrist being all bruised with a perfect little red triangle right above a vein with a needle mark in the center of that, and I can email you that picture too if you like.
Excellent. Yes, I'd love it. Thank you.
And they levitated me out of the room through the window, and took me into a small, brightly lit up craft that was glowing bright yellow, and they took me to a much larger craft in orbit, and we met with some, these were short grays with bluish gray skin, and they took me in to meet with some tan grays in orbit on a much larger craft.
Wow. You know what, just to backtrack just for a second, did they take you through your window, or?
Through the window, yes.
Right through it. Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's what I recovered under hypnosis, and that certainly jives with what many other people have said about these experiences. Mm. And
so you saw the blue grayish, and then you saw the tan.
Yeah, we saw some tan grays on the much larger craft, and they said something about my life energy being out of balance, and put me in a large square room with a high ceiling that had 4 what looked like narrow cones pointing towards the center of the room, and I was levitated off the floor about a foot and right at the center of the room, and they exposed me to some sort of energy. I think it was scalar electromagnetic energy of some kind.
And what's that do?
I don't know what it did, but I felt better than normal for a couple of days afterwards.
Wow.
So
harness that one, Mr. Scientist. You'll make all the money you need.
Yeah, they have excellent medical technology. Their medical technology is very impressive. Whatever they're doing is not really an experiment. They know everything about us as it is. They're trying to manipulate our society in various ways.
Yeah, what is it about? What do you think it's about?
Trying to develop our society into a more advanced level, and enable us to join some sort of galactic community, near as I can figure. And they also want to exploit the resources of the Earth and the Moon, and they want to, a lot of the medical samples that they get from people are quite valuable to them, and that's another one of the things that brings them here.
Is this what they're showing you, telling you, or is this what you've kind of just theorized?
It's a little of both. I've theorized it, and they've told me various things. It's hard to remember what they've told me. They've told me a lot of stuff, and it's difficult to remember 99% of it. But I know they've told me a lot of things, and I feel like I've received training of various kinds, but I haven't hypnotized enough or regressed enough times to remember much of that.
Are you heading into that direction, or are you going to work with someone?
Yeah, I'm continuing to work with Yvonne Smith to recover these memories.
Oh, okay. Do you feel that, a lot of people feel they're going to come down here and take over, or some people also believe they're just going to kind of walk amongst us, or they already do? What are your thoughts about that?
I think they're already here. I think there are a lot of hybrids living among us already, and I don't know if they're going to completely take over or not. I think they do want more influence over our society. I can say that with a fair amount of confidence. And I think they want to reduce the Earth's population and get us to be on a more sustainable track so that we won't ruin the planet, because this planet's very important to them.
You think they have a plan of how to reduce the population?
Yeah, they probably do. I think that their plans along those lines probably coincide with a lot of the plans of the powers that be on this planet. But
so you believe we are definitely in touch with them?
In what?
You believe that we're in touch with them, that we're communicating with them, somebody? Not just abductions?
Yeah, I think the government knows how to get a hold of them. Oh. And the secret government, black government, whatever you want to call it, is cooperating with them. And the military, though, the regular military, has been at war with them for years. When they picked me up during the implant incident, I got some pretty good memories of that through hypnosis. They waited a long time for orders before they actually put the device in. They weren't sure if they wanted to do it or not. Probably because they knew I'd start an investigation, and they weren't sure if they wanted that or not. And since they waited a long time for orders, the pilots are starting to get nervous, and I'm pretty sure it's because they have to kind of look over their shoulder a little bit for the Air Force or hostile action of some kind by the military.
Well, is that part of is there some sort of like treaty that says, okay, ETs, we'll sign this treaty with you. We get some technology from you guys, and you guys can have some people to take up and do what you need to with. Is it kind of something like that? I've heard that before.
I think so. I mean, I know they've told me that they've given some of their technology to our government. I think it was probably their least advanced stuff, but our government has a lot of great technology. I certainly have reason to believe that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you had also said there's like 3 types of, I'm not sure if you had said it earlier or not. I think you were doing something else, but you had said 3 types of abductions. 3 types that some never come back. Yeah,
sure. Some never come back, and some are just taken for medical reasons, for experiments of various kinds and sample taking. And the Class 2 abductees are people that actually help them with their agenda. They also take medical samples from them too sometimes, but their primary purpose is to, as far as the aliens are concerned, is to help with the agenda.
What do you think? You think they're nice guys?
Well, I don't think they're totally nice guys. I don't think that they're total scum-sucking evil either. I think that it's hard to know exactly how good or bad they are. People can be pretty bad too, so
yeah.
how good they are or how bad they are in relation to people is hard to gauge, but they're certainly not totally benevolent space brothers or anything like that. I can vouch for that. They've done some pretty horrendous things to people and to me too, actually, but not lately. They treat me pretty good these days. But
and how do they do that? What do you mean by that? That they treat you pretty good these days?
Well, like they killed the pain before they put the implant in, stuff like that. When I was when I was a kid, I remember have vague memories of them doing some horrendous bone marrow extraction experiments. And
Yikes.
my friend Katharina Wilson said something similar. That they did a similar procedure on her. So maybe that's some sort of a standard thing. Perhaps they need bone marrow to put in your medical file or something. I'm not sure exactly why they would do that. But,
that's right. That's right. You just don't think of these things. You know?
I had a terrible fear of needles when I was a kid, and I think that's exactly where that came from.
That would make sense.
I never really had any bad experiences with doctors or anything like that.
Well, what do these guys? What do they look like? How do you see them? I've never even heard anybody mention a tan one ever. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's several types of grays. The grays are not one species. They're an alliance of several similar species. There's at least 4 or 5 types, and they come from at least 3 different planets, all of which I believe are within 100 light years of here, not too terribly far away in galactic terms. But they're definitely an alliance of similar species. And they actually have a symbol for their alliance. It's a 3 circles arranged in an equilateral triangle. And the tan grays are one major type, and the short grays with blue-gray skin are the ones people report seeing most often.
Are the tan ones, are they just taller? They look like the regular grays you see?
They're taller. They have slightly more intense emotions, a little bit more individuality. They're less of a hive mind kind of species. The short grays are definitely a hive mind, and the workers don't have much individuality, and even the ones at the higher level, the scientist, engineer types, don't have as much individuality as the tans.
Do they have emotion? How are they human-like, and how are they definitely not human-like?
They do have emotions. They're not as strong as ours. They told me one time that part of the reason for that is that strong emotions shorten your lifespan, which makes a certain amount of sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm stressed. I've cried. Takes days away.
Yeah, they said that emotions such that you have on Earth are draining, hence your short lifespan. They told me that one time. And they're all connected together telepathically, so they're very unhuman-like in that respect. They can't talk. There's no vocal cords. Their mouth is just for absorption of liquid nutrients. And I think they're all linked together, not just linked together telepathically, but they're actually all monitored by some sort of a central computer system. So everybody's life in their society is recorded.
Wow. That pretty much is happening with us now with Twitter and Facebook and everything. Everything on the computer, you know?
Yeah, it's primitive compared to what they've got, but
sure.
They with the Class 2 abductees, it seems like the standard procedure for them is to put a brain implant into the person at the age of about 5, and that connects the person to the alien hive mind. The communication is only two-way when they want it to be, but basically it turns you into a walking bug where they can see and hear everything you're seeing and hearing.
And every one of your thoughts is what it sounds like.
Probably, yeah.
Well, that's pretty interesting, especially with these guys. If they're all intertwined like that, I just can't imagine all the thoughts going. It's probably a good thing they're not emotional, because they'd be making all sorts of comments all the time, getting in trouble possibly too.
Yeah.
I guess
they kind of remind me of the Borg a little bit from Star Trek. If you've ever seen that.
The which one?
The Borg.
Which one was he? Describe him again.
It's not a species. It's like a group that tries to assimilate other individuals into their collective, and they're all linked together telepathically, and they have really advanced technology, and they all have nanoprobes inside them that allow them to heal really fast if they're hurt.
Well, it's
I'm sure a lot of people in your audience are familiar with them.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
Come
oh
on,
my gosh!
Connie. The Borg. Come on. The Borg.
He scared me to death. He came in, and I just got my headphones on. I didn't realize what he was going to do. This is Chris, the producer. So you know the Borg? You remember the Borg?
Yeah, some of the best Star Trek episodes ever.
I'm sure I saw it. I just, right now I think of the Tribbles. That's one of my favorite shows. I'm a girl. We love the Tribbles. However they talk. So I will look for that one. But it's interesting that the things that you're saying, and then you refer back to Star Trek, because I remember hearing from other people talking about disclosure, that one of the ways to disclose the information is bit by bit in TV shows, in films,
Right.
etc.
They've been doing that. I mean, they can say the truth and disguise it as fiction, and then even somebody that's got a security oath won't get in trouble for that because they're saying it's fiction. Shows like Star Trek, I was really surprised to find this out, but shows like Star Trek pretty much got it right. I mean, the universe is teeming with life, including intelligent life. And there's any place there's some air and some water, there's going to be complex life forms as well. There's microbial life just about every place.
Well,
we actually had an incident in India in 2000 where a life form entered our atmosphere from space from a comet, apparently. The rain was red for 3 months after that in the Kerala district of India. It turned out to be some sort of large, about 10 micron size cells that grew best at 300 degrees Celsius.
Wow. Anything we can do with that?
I'm not sure. Apparently it's not life as we know it. There's no DNA in it. Most of the bacteria in space are a lot like Earth bacteria, but this was not. So apparently, once in a while you run across a life form that's not life as we know it, quote unquote.
There's so much we have no clue. I don't like when people put us in a box because we have no idea what we don't even know.
Oh yeah, people are. It's fear and just bias mostly that keeps people in that box. People make so many assumptions about things that are unjustified, especially scientists.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you speak of the telepathy, and that's their communication amongst themselves, and I know that they're talking to you or speaking to you with telepathy. So you're obviously hearing them because we do have that ability, and that proves it right there.
I mainly hear them through telepathy just on the abductions, but I have had weird experiences where I just hear voices and noises and things like that just normally. I mean, in 2007, there was a time period where I went through about a month where it was as if somebody left a microphone on board a UFO, and I kept hearing all these weird noises and people. I think it was them talking in their language. It sounded like a mixture of Chinese musical notes and clicks and pops.
In their language, I guess. Their language, you're talking when they do speak.
Their telepathic language. They don't have a spoken language. But,
and it's real freaky, huh?
Yeah. I can't really duplicate it, but I know what it sounds like when I hear it.
But it was kind of Asian-y, you said?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, and I heard mechanical noises, and finally there was some kind of crashing noise, like it sounded like somebody dropped a whole tray full of tools or something, and my wife heard that, and
wow.
Then she said something about that, and she goes, what was that? And I go, you heard that? And then we started talking about it. So I wasn't saying anything about it to her before that.
Well, that's interesting.
Didn't want to scare her.
Yeah, it's open on their side for you to hear it. Then it's open not only for you but for her.
I don't know if she heard it just because it was loud or because she all of a sudden became tuned into it, but she definitely heard it too.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had said how many implants do you have in you now?
At least 3 that I'm
that you're
aware of.
Okay, you those 3. Where are they located, and what is your thought of what they are all about, or what that why they are there?
I have one really, really small one above each ear, and I think those are tracking implants. They put one of them in during the incident where they put that thing in my toe, and I remember them putting a device up my nose into my brain, apparently, when I was about 5. The same type of a thing that Whitley Strieber described in the book Communion. A little, like 2 millimeter diameter, gray BB-looking thing that they put on the end of a long wire and stick up into your brain.
Mm.
And
what do you
my
think?
son, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Your son?
My son, I think, had the same thing happen to him when he was 5, because I got this feeling one time that they're coming. You know, I don't always get that before they're coming, but if I do, there's like a 100% probability that they're coming that night. And I was up until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then finally passed out and just couldn't stay awake any longer, and woke up early that next morning, and he had this huge nosebleed during the night, and it looked like it had happened while he was out of bed, because there was no blood on the bed, and it was weird. I'd been trying to get him interested in space for a while prior to this, and he wasn't interested, and then after this incident, it was like turning on a switch. He was suddenly interested in anything to do with space.
He could tell you all about the Borgs at that point, right?
Yeah.
Is that what? Did I get that right, Borgs? Okay. Woo! I learned fast.
Well, he was interested in the Borg anyway at that point, but that way. He wasn't before. Yeah.
Well, when you
the same thing happened to me when I was that age. So
yeah,
it's
wow,
weird.
must mean something at 5. Maybe it's a good time to put that in, or
I think so. Yeah.
yeah. So the 2 above the ear tracking, the one that you were just talking about up through the nose. What do you think that one's for?
That's the one I was telling you about, the connection to the alien hive mind, and they told me it enables them to hear and see what you're hearing and seeing in real time.
Wow.
I think it establishes interconnections all throughout your brain.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some undocumented reports of people trying to have those removed and having some serious physical consequences. I don't know if Dr. Lear's heard about that or not.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I think that's why they pretty much just keep those in there, right? They don't want any.
Oh,
problems.
Yeah. If I found out for sure I had that, I definitely would not want it removed.
Right.
That would make them pretty angry, for one thing, I think, and for another, I think it would be extremely medically dangerous to do so.
Right. Do they? Obviously, they just come when they want to come. But could you ever, since they have all this, they can listen to you, hear you, see what's going on? Have you ever tried to contact them yourself, or call them down, or talk to them and be, angry at them, like, why are you doing this, or anything like that?
Well, I think I know why they're doing it, pretty much. So I don't bother asking them that. But yeah, I've tried to call them down before. After the implant incident, and after I started seeing Dr. Lear, I was seeing UFOs practically every night on the way home from work, and I tried to call them down at that point, but they never did. They never did come. They seem to want to only come when there's minimal chance of anybody seeing them.
Mm. So, let's see, your implants, I know that they fell apart when Dr. Lear pulled those out, and I'm just wondering, what were the results, the total results there? Or wasn't it some sort of metal not of this world or something?
Yeah, the metallic portion of the device was meteoric iron that it tested as extremely similar to meteoric iron. It was mostly iron with about 5% nickel, and the trace element pattern was very characteristic of a nickel-iron meteorite. It had platinum and palladium and gallium and germanium, and those are trace elements that are highly indicative of it being a meteorite. And there were carbon nanotube, what looked like carbon nanotube electronics embedded in the metal too. And there was an outer layer of what appeared to be similar to mother of pearl and an oyster or abalone shell, and that I'm speculating has something to do with the ability of the devices not to provoke an immune response by the body, and it probably also has something to do with the formation of this dark, hard to cut membrane that surrounds the devices. And we found also large carbon nanotube bundles, about 10 microns across, which is pretty good size as far as these things go. that come out of the metallic portion of the device and seem to form the main connection between the device and the membrane. And then nerve cells actually grow from the body into the membrane. So the membrane seems to be the interface between the device and the nervous system.
Wow. Did you
That's
know?
pretty complicated.
Very much so. Did you after this was pulled out? Did you notice any different feeling emotionally or physically? Besides just the pain of it?
I felt like some sort of a governor had been lifted from my thoughts. I felt constrained somehow in my thoughts when that thing was in me. I had it for about 7 months, and I definitely felt somewhat different. It's really hard to describe. I felt a definite difference when it was removed.
Well, just hearing that it was governing you was, and you felt that lift off is pretty amazing right there. Wow. Well, you're listening to High Strangeness. We were talking to John Smith, who is an experiencer, and he has recently had an implant taken out by Dr. Roger Lear. And if you would like to talk to him, ask him a question, the number to call is 1-800-STRANGE, 1-800-STRANGE. We've got some pictures that we've got posted up on the highstrangeness.com website. So please take a look at that, give us a call, and you can ask some questions here with John Smith. One more thing, John. Well, I guess 2 more things here. First of all, you have sent me a letter, and again, your credentials are absolutely amazing. And now we have a letter from Dr. Robert Kuntz. Can you tell me a little bit about him and what this letter is about?
Yeah, he was very concerned when he heard about my case, and he's pretty concerned about the aliens staging a possible takeover. And
this is a nuclear physicist and also with the U.S. Navy Naval Security Group, and just assigned with the National Security Agency. This guy, he taught electronics related to remote intelligence gathering. This guy is way up there. So his concern about you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I don't think he was concerned about me in particular, but he was concerned about the alien agenda and the possibility that they do plan some sort of a takeover. At the very least, they can gather massive amounts of intelligence about our society, very sensitive areas of our society through implants, like the ones that they've put in a lot of the experiencers.
Yeah, he was speaking that.
Concerned about that.
Yeah, he was speaking that. Hey, he didn't see any discredibility, I guess. He was saying how credible you were, how credible Roger Lear was, the information, and hey, basically, why are we not taking a look at this? What's the deal here? No one's even concerned. And one of the things he said is, nevertheless, if it is true that extraterrestrial persons are placing implants in the bodies of U.S. citizens and U.S. scientists, then the matter of this is of a national security nature that could be more serious than the threat from Al-Qaeda and North Korea. And that's what's so hard with this, when you have the evidence and nothing happens.
Yeah, I think that that this is the story of the century, and it's definitely a national security matter, and they've treated it as a national security matter from day one. They've just kept it under wraps to the point where the subject is ridiculed and not taken seriously by most people, and I think that was a mistake. If the aliens are planning some sort of a takeover, it's probably far too late to stop them now. If they wanted to defend the planet and stop any type of a takeover or interference with our society, they should have come clean back in 1947 after Roswell, or before. They had incidents before Roswell.
Are you familiar with Philip Snyder?
Yes, somewhat.
What did you think of his thoughts? Because his thoughts were, hey, we need to know this now so we can fight for our planet.
Well, I think that he was probably a real patriot, and from what I understand, he was most likely murdered. He was talking about some real sensitive technological issues that the secret government, some stuff the secret government has. And,
yep, exactly right. Do you think disclosure is coming at all?
No, I don't. I think that people that were saying that we were on the verge of disclosure have been proven absolutely wrong. I mean, I was told, I'm not going to name any names, but I was told by some people in the UFO community that they were sure that disclosure was coming around April of 2009, and of course that didn't happen. And I hate to be too cynical, but I think what we're in for in reality is a new round of suppression by the powers that be on this subject. I think, however, that the aliens may disclose this subject sooner or later.
Okay. Do you think anything is significant with 2012?
I'm not sure. I think that there might be some problems with the sun and maybe some problems with earthquakes and volcanoes. I think there's a connection between sun activity and Earth activity, especially earthquakes.
Right. Even
There's a lot of
NASA.
reason to believe that.
Yeah, NASA's even talking about the solar storms that year is predicting to be pretty crazy, very strong, and also that they found a hole in the electromagnetic field. They don't know if it's natural or not, but they say that if one of those flares goes into that, it can knock out the electrical grid on the planet.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, the sun's capable of putting out eruptions that dwarf anything seen in modern times. It would not if one of these happened tomorrow or in the near future, it would knock out all of our satellites and perhaps the electrical grid as well. Yeah, and that would be a major disruption. And 2012 may see some of that and some natural disasters, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. Far from it. I think that the Mayan just meant that 2012 would be the start of some sort of a new cycle of civilization. I don't think they meant it to be the end at all.
Well, John Smith, will you keep talking to us and keep us up to date and let us know what's going on?
Sure.
Well, the High Strangeness show is also known for going to the locations. I'm curious if you think, if this is even possible, you think we can ever go to your house and when you think something may be occurring and be there with you, you think that's even possible to do, or would we totally just scare anything away?
I don't think you'd scare them away, but if they did come, you wouldn't be able to film it. They'd just deactivate your recording equipment, and you wouldn't remember it. It's possible they would come if you spent the night sometime, or if a crew spent the night sometime. But I seriously doubt you'd get any data from it.
And you think that they would? You said we wouldn't remember it either?
No.
They would.
I doubt it.
Cut us off there?
What's that?
They would mess with our minds as well?
Yes, I believe so, yeah. They don't generally allow people to remember these experiences. It's not consciously.
Would they leave us alone and leave us in your house until they brought you back, or would they take us with you?
They'd take you too.
Wow.
Most likely.
Would we come back? I want to be the one that comes back. All right. Well, that would be great. Let's talk about that in the future, because if you're up for it, and we can always give it a try and see what happens. Nothing gained otherwise. So we'd appreciate if that can be the case. But right now, thank you, everybody. High Strangeness. We'll be right back with a little bit more of John Smith. Okay, cool. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. It doesn't matter if you said yes or no.
Okay. Oh, thanks. I've had fun doing it.
Yeah, we just, we'll put this all together and definitely let you know along the way how it's going. And, you got my number, too, if you ever need to call for any reason. And send those pictures. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
How'd the interview with Roger go?
Oh, it went great. He's awesome. He's got it all. David Jacobs was great, too. And they're just everybody, they're just wonderful.
Connie Willis. Join Connie's other shows at ConnieWillis.com.